Hello, welcome to Coffee HEMA Christmas edition. Um, I'm filming this on Christmas jumper day in the UK, hence the wonderful jumper that I'm wearing. And I thought for this video I would just have a bit of a ramble about what would I like as a Christmas present from the HEMA community coming up in 2025. Um, Obviously, I don't expect anyone to buy this specifically for me, but these are things that I'd like to see change coming in. So, number one at the top of my list, unsurprisingly, is more HEMA. And in particular, what I'd like to see is both more events, could be tournaments, could be classes, but also more local and or more focused events than we currently see. Right, and I think this is something that we're really experiencing with the Wessex League. That for a long time, the only way you could really fill out a sports hall and justify the cost of running a sports hall for a weekend would be to have fairly generalist events. It might be classes mixed with tournaments, or it might be like Wessex, 8 tournaments over the course of 2 days, right? And that was really kind of required for quite a while because of the size of the HEMA community. Maybe you could get a full tournament just with longsword filling it out, but any other weapon, like if you wanted to have a tournament for that, you'd have to mix. I think we are now past that, right? We're now past the point where you've got to have saber, rapier, dagger, sword and buckler, longsword to fill out a whole event. And actually, all these events are kind of selling out. So what I really like to see, first of all, is more specialized events, right? Events that are just the longsword tournament, like Dutch Lions Cup, like Tenhow, they do it. But also non-longsword versions of that, right? Or maybe 2 swords, right? Or whatever it happens to be. But, just a side sword tournament, right? Or maybe a side sword plus side sword companion weapons tournament. So something more focused. That should ease some of the pressure of tournaments selling out. It also means there's a bit more variety for people to go to. You don't have to, if you want to do a side sword tournament, settle for sword and buckler. Let's face it, buckler is the worst of the side sword sidearms. If you disagree with me, it's fine, but you're wrong. And you'd be able to do kind of more what you want. So more specialized events, more local events, right? National events these days tend to be selling out. International events tend to be selling out super quickly, right? And all this kind of stuff. And part of that is because they're still the main way people can approach a tournament. And I've seen even events like Dutch Lions, Tenhow, all this kind of stuff, where people are going to their first event as one of these big international events, because still to some extent that's all you can get to, or that's all that exists. More local, smaller tournaments. Again, they could be specialized, they could be general, for different levels, so that people can experience their first tournament around the corner rather than traveling 600 miles for it or whatever, and just get kind of more general, local, quick experience, right? Rather than only ever going to the big tournaments, international tournaments, and that's it, right? So more local events. And I'd like to see more events that aren't tournaments. We have a few in the UK. We've got like Fight Camp and Fight Camp Skirmish. We've got some sparring days with Midlands Muster that are class events. But we have got plenty of tournament events, weekend workshops, things that are again more focused, right? Would be nice too here, because we still have most of the class-based events that we have in the UK, at least, are here's 24 classes of an hour and a half of mixed quality, mixed weapons or whatever it happens to be, and you maybe go to some of them and not all of them. Events where it's a workshop focused on one thing, right? One by one person, really deep diving into certain things, allowing them to get kind of more interesting in terms of how they're teaching that, rather than trying to just get a bunch of information across an hour and a half. That would be fantastic too. And sparring days are always fun. Big sparring days, especially, you can go to, or just including them in one of those events would be good as well. My next Christmas present on my list will surprise no one who's been following historical fencing research. That's my new company that I've been set up. Go to historicalfencingresearch.com. You'll see the details. More data is the answer here. More investigation, more active investigation into injuries, into equipment standards, into all this kind of stuff that keeps us safe would be good. We're getting too big to leave it to whim and anecdote, and it needs to start being looked at properly. To do that properly, different people need to collaborate, right? No one event can record data and understand injury causes within their own area, because thankfully from an organizer perspective, injury rates are low enough that from a statistical perspective, it's bad that they're too small to make any firm conclusions from one event. You need better information from across multiple events. So more data, more collaboration on data between events would be nice, so that we can actually start really digging into safety and understand things to make sure things keep staying safe. Finally, my third Christmas shopping list would be more focus and better support for minority groups in HEMA, women's plus events, or underrepresented or women's events, or promoting women instructors at different events, these kind of top classes. We're still at the point where most of HEMA is very male dominated, right? It's very white male dominated as well. There are plenty of people out there, who are not, who don't look like me, right? But they're still relatively under the radar, even though many of them are just as skilled, just as capable of running things or teaching and all that kind of stuff. And because opens tend to get kind of promoted more than women's plus events, they tend to not have as strong a reputation for winning multiple women's events and that kind of stuff. And we're getting to the point where actually we can get some pretty healthy sized women's events, women's plus or underrepresented events, on their own back. With 50 coming up at Helsinki, that's great, or nearly 50, 30 plus at some of the UK events, that's great. Other places are still kind of lagging behind, and the clubs are still lagging behind. And really, this is something kind of at club level needs to be addressed more than at tournament level, because tournaments, by and large, you can make it available, but if no one's available to do it, then they're not coming up. So each club, gender is the obvious one because we've got categories for it because of tournament categories, but also promoting things like, making sure that your classes are able to cope with people who've got disabilities, making sure that you've got kind of discrimination policies, and really just kind of supporting people to make sure that if you like swords, you can come and play with swords, right? For whatever needs that you have within that space. So there you go. There's my 3 Christmas lists for the new year. Hopefully some of you help me get some of these Christmas lists and I don't just get a sack of coal. Thanks for watching. I'm back because I forgot obvious and important ones. And the most obvious important one in the space of equipment, which is what I want to talk about. It's not actually necessarily more equipment, although there are some areas that could definitely need improvement. What I really want from HEMA manufacturers, please can you just start running your businesses well, rather than it being a bit janky, right? If you've got a long lead time, tell us about it, right? If there's a delay in my order, please let me know. Don't lie to me. If you cannot deliver, don't take my money. It's fine, right? And just generally speaking, mind your business better. Like, communicate well about delivery times. If there's a delay, let me know. And preferably as well, shrink that delay. It would be nice to be able to go to a lot of equipment manufacturers and be able to get something within a year. I don't feel like that's too much to ask. So please, for the new year, HEMA manufacturers, get it so that if I order something in January, I'll get it before January 2026. Thanks very much.